Good morning. Okay, how do I do this? I have completely forgotten how. Yes, we go live on Facebook. Good morning, everyone. Is anyone here? Not yet. Oh, now someone's here. Hi. Oh wait, I'm not Sam Bennett. Let me do the thing real quick. More rename. Not Sam Bennett. Okay. Who all's here? Hi, Deborah. Hi, Sue. Hi, Robin. Howdy. Okay. This is the part that Sam usually does wait, let me mute my phone. Phone is muted. Great. Okay. Just real quick here. So we're going to go live on Facebook. In the meantime, for those of you who are here on the Zoom chat, so hi Leslie, thank you. For those of you here on the Zoom chat, we're going to talk about ending up with getting sold solutions and having them not actually solve your problem. So like if you've ever been sold particularly an all-in-one thing, if you've ever been sold a thing that was supposed to fix everything for you, and it turned out that like it didn't do like the one thing that you actually needed it to do, like tell me in chat a little bit about that while I'm getting us set up and sorted on Facebook here. Okay, live stream on Facebook connected to, oh, I need to sign out. I need to sign out of me on Facebook and I need to sign in as Sam. Here's the thing about working with me, you guys, is that if you work with me at some point, you're going to give me all of your passwords and I'm going to just completely hack your life. It's just easier. It's a good thing that I'm chaotic good and not chaotic evil, because that would be real bad. So yeah. So tell me a little bit about some of the solutions that it turned out to just not work out. Okay, now we're signed in as Sam. So now I can go to more live on Facebook, and now I can stream live, not to veronicagazzardi.com, but actually to a page, not to Open Fist, but to Samantha Bennett. Facebook Live Thursday, 10 a.m. Let's go. Solutions and other problems with Veronica. That's me. And then a description. This, here, there, go live. Do. Preparing to live stream the webinar. Good. And then the next thing that I need to do is share it to the Highly Productive People Facebook group. Sue says, I've learned that cookie cutter things don't work for me, and you're welcome to my passwords. Thank you, Sue. I have all of your passwords. I can hack your life at any moment as well. Leslie says, you are a mistress/master at keeping your cool under stress. Master Scout Leader. Thank you. I appreciate that. That makes me feel better about the times that I have, in fact, fallen apart at the end of a Scout meeting, which does happen. Because, you know, everyone's a human being. Deborah says, hi, Veronica. Thank you for filling in for Sam. We appreciate you. Thank you. I appreciate you too. Okay, let me, so the Zoom is ready. I know Lucy is on deck. There's my face. Let me do one more quick thing to share it to highly productive people. More options, share to a group. Secrets of highly productive people. We're live. Click. Expand to join the conversation. Yes, good. Today's going to be very, very strange. Okay, off we go. And I'll just have this chat up in the background as well. And yeah, I guess we're ready to go. We're shared everywhere. Hi, everybody. It's me, Veronica, filling in for Sam from therealsambennett.com, doing this Thursday live. Sam is traveling. And so she asked me to fill in today. She gave me carte blanche to talk about whatever I wanted. And so I proceeded to not know at all what I was going to talk about until about 6:30 this morning. And then I promptly fell back asleep. So this is going to be a little bit like Veronica's coffee chats. Like if you have visited me on my page on Sharptooth Creative Services, I will occasionally go live and just natter at you until something good comes out. This is going to be a little bit about that. But the thing that occurred to me that I wanted to talk to you guys about today was about something that happens in my rocket consultations with people, where folks will come to me and say, well, I bought this thing that was supposed to be the solution to everything. It was supposed to be this all-in-one platform, and I can't make it do the one thing that I need it to do right now. That is actually indicative of a much broader issue. And I wanted to dive into that a little bit and see if we can get a little bit more clarity about what we're trying to accomplish before we go seeking for solutions, because I think that will help guide our decision making, and talk about some ways that we can actually do that with a little bit more methodology. So yeah, so let's do the thing. Hi, Lucy, it's so good to see you. Hi, Kamala and Julie and Lori. The gang's all here. I am so delighted to get to do this with you. Okay, but let's do the thing first, that we always do, because I know a lot of you guys come for the calm, and I've got a little bit of a higher energy than Sam, so I think it's very important to settle into this bit, the moment that we're in right now, by doing a little bit of breathing. So just take a second, get your feet on the floor. I'm actually cross-legged in my office chair. I should probably unfold a little bit. Be willing to take up a little bit more space than you maybe usually do. Hands up, maybe thumbs to the right, so you've got one on the ground and one in the air, if you're feeling it. And relax all of the things. And we'll inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Thanks, everybody. Thank you for doing that with me. I do that exactly the same way that Sam does that, because it was one of the first things that kind of tuned me into Sam when I was a student. I'd never seen anybody do that in a productivity. I think it was a summit it was a Jennifer Lee summit that Sam was a part of a bajillion years ago. And like the idea that we were not going to like immediately start in on the grind, and we were going to take a second and put some air in our bodies was absolutely revolutionary to me at the time. I've made that a part of my practice. I mean that quite literally. Like we have a bunch of, I do when I gather together with the gang and we do our spiritual work together. We've got a bunch of different breathing modalities that we use, and I do 4-7-8 breathing because it is very settling for me, and I've been doing it for such a long time. It just makes sense. So anyway, so here is the story. I've actually had this happen to me like 2 or 3 times in the last month with clients, where someone has said, well, I got this platform. I am on this platform, and it was supposed to be an all-in-one thing that does all of the stuff. It is supposed to handle all of my email contacts and my mailing list and process my payments and make me breakfast and all of the stuff. And I can't get it to do this one thing. Um, Oftentimes that one thing is something that had occurred to them after they had purchased this solution. Oftentimes this solution is some platform that I have never heard of. And people are kind of, I have a little bit of a reputation for being, pretty knowledgeable about like tech and kind of knowing something about most things. So when people are like, oh yeah, well, I'm on Barful Sniffer, I'm like, I have never heard of that. And they get a little dismayed. And that's just because a lot of these things are, people come up with the same product that does the same thing and just name it a bunch of, like there is a whole aisle full of toothpaste in the United States, and they are all basically like binders and baking soda and fluoride and mint. But there are like, 8,000 brands of them. This is how it is with a lot of these all-in-one platforms. They will have an ad campaign on Facebook and sell them to a bunch of people who are looking for some kind of solution to some kind of problem, and and charge you a premium for it. And like, then everyone's like, well, I have this thing and it works this way. And I'm like, I've never heard of it, but conceptually it's all the same. So I can usually find my way through it. This is not the point. The point is that oftentimes those all-in-one solutions, even the ones that I have heard of, don't always work for the exact thing that you're trying to do, because often the exact thing that you're trying to do is not super clear. And it's really easy to get sold on a solution to a problem that you have not clearly identified. So what we're actually going to talk about is getting clarity. This is the trick that I like to do, and some of you guys know this from working with me in Rocket sessions or in Make It Real or whatever. Like a lot of the early work that we do is not about tech; it is about what's in your head. Yeah, I'm tricky. So yeah, Lori says solution to everything. That sounds like my first husband. Seriously, yeah. And that's, gosh, that's a first husband problem. Like I am so speaking out of my lane right now because I'm not, I have never been married, but I have had a series of boyfriends in my youth who, the hope was that they were going to be the be all and end all, and they did not like solve the problem of like my internal stuff. My sense of self-worth and all that stuff can't be solved by some boy. Just like my desire for variety and security is not going to be solved by an all-in-one CRM platform. So let's talk about that a little bit. What is it that you're actually trying to achieve, and how do you figure that out? This is one of the things that's really good about the 15-minute method that Sam teaches in the Get It Done program and in the Get It Done lab is you can take 15 minutes to trace back what you're actually trying to do. So let's talk about it. I am in the midst of launching an evergreen version of the course that I did a couple of years ago called Make It Real, which is about June says EST and landmark solves all your problems. I don't know what you are referring to, so I'm going to assume that you're making a joke. And I'm like, yeah, yes, that. Yeah. So I'm trying to build an evergreen version of this course, and I'm not. Right now I'm very busy, so I haven't had a whole lot of time to do it. But why do I want that? I want that because an evergreen version will be easier for me to offer to people than teaching it for 6 weeks every 6 months or whatever it is that I could do if I were to do it live over and over again. Why do I want that? Well, because I don't have a tremendous amount of time. Why don't I have a tremendous amount of time? First thought, best thought. executive dysfunction. Being a little bit of a squirrel. Why am I a little bit of a squirrel? Well, I've got a little touch of the ADHD. It happens from time to time. When does it flare up? It flares up when I'm not doing self-care stuff. So actually, I think like one of the things that I need to add to my daily routine is a 15-minute walk. I do a lot of very, very good thinking on my 15-minute walks. I don't do them enough, especially because it's been raining in Los Angeles, which is a catastrophic state of affairs in a desert where it never rains. So that's a kind of a quick trace back to something that I can do to sort out this problem of not having time. And it goes to that aphorism about like, if you should meditate for 20 minutes a day, unless you're very busy, and then you should meditate for an hour, which I like very much. But like, let's get a little bit more practical, because some of that, like I want to have an evergreen course because of executive dysfunction, and I need to walk more. Is a little bit, there's a disconnect there. Like it's a little difficult to trace all the way, and it's also not a super actionable thing in terms of getting my course done. So let's talk about that. Being a little more agile in what you're doing, particularly at the beginning, so that you can get some clarity, is a really useful thing to do. So like finding a solution before you've really settled on your problem, it's attractive because we like to work, we like to action things. We're in North America, we're really we don't feel like we're doing anything productive unless we are doing something, literally. And that means that sitting around and thinking is not it's not satisfying to our need to be thought of as a productive person. You can trace that also in terms of like being thought of as a productive person. It's a dangerous thing in a society with a Protestant work ethic to be thought of as a lazy person. Like I have spent in the throes of executive dysfunction, I have spent an amount of time kind of lying on the sofa thinking, because it's all I could do. And that is, I feel a certain amount of shame about that. Being a self-employed person, I feel a certain amount of shame in resting during working hours, when everyone else is at the office or in the classroom or wherever it is that they are doing their thing. Oh no, what if someone thinks I'm lazy? Terrible. Never mind the fact that like I am often up at like sometime between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. doing work, because that's when my brain is quiet enough for me to actually do work. My friends who work in offices don't do that. My friends who work in offices, they clock out at 5 and then they don't think about their job until 8 o'clock next morning. This is the sacrifice that I've made for the luxury of being able to get up at 9 o'clock in the morning. And that is okay. Put a note in chat for me if any of this is making any sense. If we're getting anywhere near the idea of, okay, Catherine says, I get this too. It's so helpful hearing you talk about it. And it's a little bit disorganized. Some of it is a little bit disorganized because I didn't quite sort out the outline for this. But I actually think that that's a good way to model this idea. Talking through it is messy. And what I've noticed recently, as I'm sort of working out what I want this year to look like, I spent a lot of the first part of this year kind of trying to organize like how 2023 is going to go. Deborah says, yes, it's very helpful. I am also self-employed. Okay, good. that Leslie says, you do messy so well. Thank you. Thank you. So, okay, great. That makes me happy. I have noticed in my journaling. Now, I don't do morning pages, but I do a fair amount of writing throughout the day. Particularly when I start to bog on a project, I will take I will actually do a 90-second process, and this might surprise some of you because I'm an artist. I do a lot of my 90-second process by writing. So I'll just I have this, I organize my life on just in a spiral notebook, and it's just a running list of notes. Lori says, oh, sure. I've mostly been in business myself in my life. Very different than the times I've attempted to work for someone else. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's a different way of organizing your time. And the standards of this sort of 9 to 5 workplace and what work-life balance looks like is just different. And that's okay. So yeah. Anyway, back to the notebook. So my 90-second process, which I don't adhere to exactly 90 minutes. We used to call it 5-minute art. So like somewhere between 90 seconds and 5 minutes, I will just write. I will basically free write whatever it is that's sorting me out. And so when I'm working through what I am actually trying to achieve, those 90-second processes start to take the shape of, what do I want? So like, what do I want? I know that I am, Lanny is asking, what is the 90-second process? Let me give you a brief rundown of what the 90-second process is. It's when you are stuck on something, you give yourself a minute and a half to make some art about your feelings. And, like oftentimes we will take out, Sam will take out a little index card and just draw a picture. Or like I said, I will write. Sometimes it's just scribbling. There was one time in an event that I attended that Sam put on, where someone was like, how do we do that? How do we make art about our feelings just out of nowhere? And Sam, and she was up at a microphone, and Sam said, well, what if you wrote a song about how confused you were feeling right now? She's like, how would I do that? She's like, well, what does that sound like in your head? What does it sound like that you don't get it? And she kind of looked at herself and she went, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. And everybody like absolutely exploded because it was perfect. So the 90-second process is just a way for you to get the feelings out of your body and onto a substrate, onto paper, into sound, out of you, so that you can look at it and go, aha, this is the feeling. And the feeling is not me. And now I can do something with it because it's outside of me. So that's the 90-second process. So for me, my 90-second process a lot of times starts with the question, what do I want? Which I have a difficult relationship with. I know that I am working toward, I live my lavish lifestyle in a 1-bedroom apartment in Los Angeles. I am working toward owning property. So I am at some point looking to buy a condo. And so like writing out exactly what that space is going to look like is a thing. And then like I try to trace, why do I want that? What do I want to fill those spaces with? Where do I want to go and why? What do I want next year to look like? Who am I looking for? If I am looking to date somebody, like what is that person like? So Julie says, this is totally making sense. A couple of years ago, I looked into apps that I hoped would track my time and do the accounting for billing clients. I kept finding things that either did more than I needed or not the main things that I needed. Finally recognizing that I don't have so many clients that I need to be automated. This is my favorite thing. I ended up just creating an Excel worksheet, an Excel workbook of my own. I use Word docs for typing up invoices. It just wasn't going to be necessary to reinvent a wheel or wheels I already have the skills and programs for. This is the crux of my point, which is a weird thing because I teach technology to people. But like a lot of times I've had conversations with clients. I've had conversations with clients who have lists that are smaller than 500 and lists that are over 10,000. And I have had this same conversation with people where like, they're just like, well, I don't know what it is about setting up this big email campaign, but I just don't, like, every time I get into those sequences and I start writing those emails, like I just blank. And every time I get inspired and write a broadcast, those get a ton of engagement, and I feel really comfortable and inspired and happy and feel like I'm making connections with real people in real time. And I'm like, well, then don't write in your email campaign. Don't automate. If the automation is getting in your way, then don't do it. You are allowed not to use big giant systems. You are allowed to continue to have like real conversations with real people. Sue says heresy. This is Sue, and also Sue was mentioning about the 90-second process, that it activates more of our neuroprocessing paths. Like to be able to get an idea out on paper, to be able to get to physicalize a feeling, allows you to imagine it with a little bit more flexibility. It doesn't create the rut. This is a metaphor that I've been using lately as I have been trying to grow out of some habits that are no longer serving me. I have adopted the metaphor of the rut, and I know when I'm walking in a rut, because it feels really like the pain is super familiar. The like and you know, like some of this is problematic habits with regard to relating to other people. I have this nasty habit of assuming, unless I am explicitly told otherwise repeatedly, that everyone is kind of annoyed with me all the time. And that's a rut. It is something that when I was a little girl bullied in school, it was something that it was a rut that I developed to protect myself from over-trusting and being harmed. I'm going to be 42 this year, and that has not been true for a very long time. And yet I am still struggling with that idea. So when I notice I'm in that rut, because it feels so safe to be in that rut, it feels so safe to imagine that the reason you are not progressing in your business or in your philanthropy or whatever, in your career, is that you are struggling with a technology. You are struggling with learning how to use Keep. Like when really what you need to be doing is having more conversations with more people. And you're allowed to do that. You are allowed to just do the thing that you actually want to do. But first you have to identify what you actually want to do. So if your goal is in fact to let me see if I can come up with sort of the holistic thing to tie a bow on all of this. So I want to make 3 packages for people. Like I want to create my evergreen course and have some bonuses and some one-on-one coaching for people, that sort of thing. Why do I want all that? Why do I want to do that? I want to do that because I want to create a container for people to learn these skills. Okay, cool. Why do I want that? I want that because having to reinvent this process over and over again for people it wears me out. Okay, cool. Why does it wear you out? Because I don't have enough time, because okay, so now I'm back into that trace about executive dysfunction and about self-care. So okay, cool, great. Jaber says, Veronica, I relate to the shame aspect, even remote work. While for support, I spend time after hours in many days. For executive function challenges, what's your best take on managing that as well? I was exploring ADHD, but I'm on the other side, stronghold of fear and worry and hypervigilance. Yeah, so the hypervigilance is actually, it's part and parcel for me. Now, your mileage may vary. I am and I'm not a psychologist, but I've had a lot of therapy. So, and we're still on the fence about like what my problem is. And it actually doesn't matter. And this is all related. My problem is either ADHD or it's complex PTSD, might be both. We're not sure. Anyway, but one way or another, there's some trauma involved in there, and like hypervigilance is often a trauma response. And like, so, you know, if you're being hypervigilant about that sort of thing, if you are experiencing shame over a behavior that you're doing, that's where you want to examine that. So like managing that really is, in terms of like executive dysfunction, for me, it is, I have to do like focused work on convincing myself that I'm safe. And a lot of times what that means is like, I lower the specific thing that I do. And again, your mileage may vary because you're not me. I lower my standing desk as low as it can go. And I sit on a little poof instead of a chair, and I cover myself in my weighted blanket, and I just sort of resentfully do my work. And I allow myself the possibility that I can do it as poorly, like I can do the worst version of whatever it is that I'm doing, and give myself a pass on that. And sometimes, you know, if I'm upset, I'm like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do it sadly. This is actually something that Sam talks about, like when she does some of the identity work that we do in the Get It Done lab. We actually did this last week, which, by the way, I don't know if I'm actually supposed to do this or not, but I'm gonna, because Sam's not here. You can still enroll in this cohort of Get It Done lab, and you totally should. If you haven't. And also, because Sam's not here and she hasn't told me not to do it yet, we're going to keep the 50% discount up. So if you go to therealsambennett.com/lab, you can sign in now. The replay of last week is up already. And you'll be able to like catch up, but you're not behind. But this identity stuff that we worked on last week is, and Lucy just put it in the Facebook chat. And I'll put it in the Zoom for you guys in a minute. But like this identity stuff that we worked on, there was sort of a positive spin on it. Like, here is all of the stuff that all of these people would say about you. And again, it's a first thought, best thought exercise. I enjoy sort of taking that and spinning it around, particularly when I'm struggling. When I am in a state of, when I'm in a depressive state, when I'm feeling, when I'm really experiencing some very acute shame and fear and that sort of thing, I let the protective parts of me say the bad things. I am afraid that I am too this, too that. I'm too sensitive. I am grumpy and resentful. I am annoying. And so if I've got work to do and I'm struggling with executive function, then those words are now my permission to do the thing in the grumpiest, most resentful, most annoying way possible. Least prepared. That was this morning. Because like my whole, and I'm flippant about this, and this is it, this ties it all together. I'm really flippant about like, well, I didn't really plan for this. Haha, it's so funny. Like, haha, cheerful Veronica didn't plan for, I was worried that I wasn't going to come up with something good enough for you guys today. And that meant that I couldn't find just the right thing until my brain was like, girl, you are out of time and you have to come up with something. And then we got here. So, in this case, it is the most hasty, sporadic, ill-prepared all of the things that were on my like progress reports in elementary school when I was struggling with like staying present in the classroom because I was being bullied outside of it. So, and Sue says, language matters. There's a movement among psych types to remove the D from the end of ADHD and PTSD, thus attention deficit hyperactivity and post-traumatic stress, not disorder. Yeah, I have a lot of like trauma-informed people are really wanting to like not pathologize that stuff. Like, you know, because they're not disordered. It's learned behavior that was useful. Like it wasn't disordered when I learned how to do it. So yeah, and Lanny says that there's an ADD summit on at the moment. I'm not surprised. It's in the news a lot because like some of this stuff, like, we came up with it because we have created a really stressful environment for ourselves. Once again, it goes back to that Protestant work ethic that we sort of live in the northern hemisphere, if you will. Yeah, Sue says it's survival behavior that we may no longer need. We've got those ruts that are difficult to climb out of. But sorting through those habits that are no longer serving you to actually get to the center of what you want, and like the things that we want are really, like fundamentally the same. We want security, we want connection, we want safety, we want love. Food is good too. All of those things, like whatever it is on, Maslow's hierarchy of needs or whatever it is. June says, is it disordered to be human? No, of course not. And Sue says, well, June, it's definitely not orderly. I mean, and that is a very interesting point. Julie says, agreed. Let's remove the D from ADH and PTS. Yeah. Because it's not orderly. It's really messy to be a person. This is something that I tell my kids all the time. Like I tell my scouts, like being a person is hard work. It's challenging to learn how to do this. And it's funny because like at this point, my scouts are 10 and 11, and I have been saying that to them for ages. And I was at a science day doing symmetry work with some of the kids, and a 7-year-old called me out on it. The 7-year-old's like, it's not hard to be a person. I'm already a person. I'm like, oh my God, you are the most balanced human being I have ever met in my life. Everyone is different. Lanny says everyone is different, and everyone is. And that is kind of what's magical about us. We are a colliding combination of the same 4 amino acid chains over and over again. And by we, I mean like all life on Earth is a colliding of the same 4 amino acid chains over and over again in different combinations. We have a lot of our DNA is like shared with a banana. And so it's just those tiny shifts that change our entire experience. And what that means is that like one cookie cutter way of experiencing what we're doing, our path toward our highest ideals, which are safety, security, love, connection, all of that stuff. It's going to be different for every single one of us, and it's supposed to be. I'll say that I'll be fatalistic about it and say that it's supposed to be different. And bringing it back to the idea of like finding one single tech solution for all of your problems for whatever project you're working on. That's going to work for a couple of people. It is not going to work for most of us. And to be willing to give yourself the time and space to examine exactly what you are in fact pursuing will inform your choices so that you don't get locked in to something that is not going to work. Whether I'm talking about like an all-in-one tech platform or like a relationship that's supposed to be the end of all, or a cult, it can, like, knowing very clearly that it's going to be messy and that you are at least aware of what you're aiming for. I talk about this sometimes with clients about, like, really know what your North Star is so that you don't get distracted by other choices. So that you can stay clear, but, like, take your time identifying your North Star is sort of the point of all of this. Julie says, I really love the twist you're putting on this. The bottom line being asking the right question before looking for an answer. Yeah, that's the crux of the matter, is just make sure you're asking the right questions. And again, this is one of the things that I think Sam does really brilliantly in the Get It Done program and the Get It Done lab, which, by the way, like, we bonused in the did we bonus in the program? I think we bonused in the program. Did we? I should probably look that up before. Maybe realsambennett.com/lab. Did we bonus in the program? I think we did. Scroll all the way down with me. Bonus one, Get It Done, the book. Yes, we did. We totally did. Ha 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 ha. And the book. So you get all three of the things to really, and the point of that is to get clear on the principle of, like, identifying the thing that you want. And then the lab is the opportunity to give you a container to pursue it and to find some certainty about it, to at least get to 49%, or to get to 51% certainty before you begin moving forward, or, like, moving forward while you are sorting that out in a way that is agile and fun, so that you can, in fact, pursue your highest ideal, instead of, like, the thing that might, like, keep you in the rut, but just lift a little bit higher. Like, that's not going to be as satisfying. So that is sort of the thought about all of that. Just make sure that you are asking the right questions. Find a method for pursuing those questions and to really settle in that answer before you move forward on an all-in-one solution that sounds very satisfying, but may not be the thing. June says, by the way, Veronica, you look great today. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's very kind of you. Yeah, I was like, wait, did I pick that mug? I didn't. I'm using my Everything is Temporary mug today, because that's where my head is. It's all fine. That is also a reminder about agility, is that, like, everything is temporary. So not to get stuck in those ruts. Yeah. Lori says, good advice. Julie says, gotta run, pick up the granddaughter, talk about fun. Thank you. I have talked over, which is my want. I apologize. Let's get on with our days and get on with it. Thank you so much for your time and attention. It's always fun when I get to, get on the mic and do a thing. Let's take one more breath to close out the circle and get on with it. Okay. Let's inhale. 2, 3, 4, hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Thanks, gang. Thank you for doing this with me. I will see you guys. Next week, but you won't see me. You will see Sam. So I will talk to you. When I talk to you. Take care.